Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show, Coaching for Relevance. Randy Swaim joining us here today to talk about his work of bringing freedom to potential as a coach, as a pilot, and wait, as an author. Is it official yet?
It is official. It's actually public. It's publicized and made public on Amazon now, so people can go on and order it and purchase it and get it sent to them. So yeah, it's and I tell you, the people that were kind of helping me just sort of put it all together, kind of thing with my story and everything, have in general they've all said, and I'm not trying to tout it, but just I was amazed with what they said, because they said they think that it's going to be a bestseller. So,
what is the title of it? Tell us what it's about.
Okay.
Break it down.
It's the title is bringing freedom to, or not bring freedom to potential, and the subtitle, and this is just so key of my development journey through my life, but the subtitle says it's a true story of overcoming and soaring above the storms in life. And to what extent are you letting stuff hold you back? To what extent are you really developing and becoming, and all of that. So that's just a general picture in my story. It's been a neat story that talks about my pilot and aviation and military aviation background and everything, but also kind of how that got me into coaching and with neuroscience now and all of that. So it's when I look back on my story, it's been interesting from that standpoint. It's not something that you just do nothing but brag about, kind of thing, because I was honest. I kind of talked about some of the things that I learned from that I could have done better, should have done better, and all that. And but it's and I'll just tell people that my goal in this is that 20 years after I take my last breath, maybe somebody will read it and get some insights within their life about how it's going and developing them in their journey and stuff. So just a little point on that, but I'm humbled that it's out there now and made public. So
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on this. And don't forget to go to Amazon to get a copy. Is it also linked on your website yet?
It's not, because that just was made public like within the
Okay.
last day. But I will tell you this, that my Coach Paulson Jordana, my friend and colleague over there, she kind of does my website and all that. She's going to be including it on the website, so it will be sometime shortly, probably. But yeah, we're going to do that. It's not there quite yet, just because it's been so recent that it was made public and everything. But yeah.
Exciting. Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations on this. And for new timers that are here today, don't even know who Randy Swaim is and Coaching for Relevance, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I know we have some action-packed discussions in store.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll just make this very quickly, but my journey has been, I know what it's like coming from a fairly challenging, somewhat dysfunctional background kind of thing.
Mhm.
I know what it's like to live your life and overcome and to not let it just hold you back and all that, and to live your dream, to know what your dream is and to have it clear and to live it and know what it's like to live it, not to brag about yourself, because that's not the whole purpose of it, but to do it in such a way that it brings some value to other people, that they may apply a few of the lessons to their journey with right where they are, and give them some magical insights as to how they can move forward and become. And so that's the whole purpose in it. And a lot of people say in just one sentence, it's a good story about going from pilot to coach. And and I still train and certified jet pilot, so I'm still involved in aviation, and that's one area with CAE where I bring a lot of coaching skills and neuroscience awareness to developing flight crews and pilots and things of that nature. And when you think about the organizational maneuverability concept, where not everything is rote academic. Guess what? In pilots, not everything you see on this flight is going to be rote academic. And guess what? When you're leading your team in a business, not everything's going to fit a rote academic picture. And are you really leading your team in such a way that when the unexpected factors come on scene, you can hit radical success together? And what do you need to do that? And so that's a key part of that whole, that's a key part of my story. And I've been amazed at a couple of things. I will say this, that it points out 4 defining moments in my life journey that were defining moments for me. And when I look back on those 4 moments, it's like, wow. It blows me away a little bit. So, but when you're talking about leading a team and leading a group, whether it's a flight crew, whether it's 2 pilots and the flight attendant or whatever, kind of thing, or if it's your team at a workplace in whatever industry, guess what? Not everything is going to be predictable. And is your team such that you're not just fitting rote academic things? And that's kind of where I can bring a short insight today for the show.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This is exciting work, and you should be so proud. I know we've been talking about your journey and writing the autobiography for quite some time. So it's amazing how it all comes to fruition and just takes some time. But yeah. And can I just ask a quick question?
In fact, I'll just say that's what it looks like. So.
Oh my God, beautiful. Thank you. Even better, we get to see it. Has anyone prefaced it? Did you, who is there? Could you talk a little bit about that? Who has read a copy of it so far? And has anyone commented yet?
Well, I tell you what, just the people that have read through it, which were people that were kind of acting as my helps, because they were masters and experts in publishing and all of that kind of stuff. And they were the people that read through it. Their comments have been, "This is going to be a bestseller," is what they've said. And so it's kind of amazing, but it just went public. And so I've got a list of about 10 people that I know are going to be getting a copy of it and things of that nature. And so it's the people that are aware of my story. And I will say this, that the people that I've connected with and had one-on-ones with, from people just in networking groups and stuff like that I've been with, when they learned a little bit about my story, it's amazing over the last 10 years of my life. Oh, the last 18 years or so of my life. It's been amazing to me how many people have said, "Randy, you got a story that needs to be told." And so this is sort of doing that a little bit, not to call attention to me, but to bring some learned aspects out of the journey so that people can gain an insight, maybe not that you got to be just like me, but maybe gain an insight that can make a difference in their journey. And that's what I want, even if people don't remember who I am, if it makes a difference like that and my story makes a difference, that's what I'm all about.
Sure does. All right. Thank you so much. Exciting. It's finally
pretty wild.
here.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
congrats. What
You
now
bet.
for today? I know we're going to elaborate obviously on the work you're doing. What specifically did you want to make sure we share for today?
What I want to do is, because as we mentioned, and I just kind of shared with that, that guess what? Regardless of what industry you're in, not everything just fits a rote academic aspect of it. And that's as a key aspect of organizational maneuverability. But what I'll do, and it brings a little bit of an insight into the managers and the leaders and how are you doing it right and how much you need to tweak it and do it a little different possibly. And I'll start out with a quote, and it's actually just to touch a little bit of a humorous quote, but it comes from George Bernard Shaw. And and I posted it on my social media today and shared a basic concept about it. But here's the quote. George Bernard Shaw says, "Both optimists and pessimists contribute to society." And he says, the optimist invents the airplane, the pessimist, the parachute.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But where that kind of fits into this, and this is very key when you're talking about leading your team in challenging and unpredictable environments. One of the things that I posted on my social media with this today is I pointed out this one simple fact, that when you talk about real team synergy, A lot of people today, and most people have a picture in that of a superficial sort of rote thing where true team synergy means we're all the same. Guess what? That is not true synergy. And when you talk about true synergy, you talked about optimists and pessimists in this quote and everything. But here's the thing. I would share this little picture of an image on this, that it's the pessimists that saw something that maybe the optimist didn't see. The optimist built the airplane, and the pessimist might have said, what if it comes apart in the air?
Yeah.
What's somebody going to do? And I will tell you, there had been one time in my whole flight career where I came that far from having to eject out of an airplane and come down on a parachute and all. But the bottom line is, when you're talking about leading your team, you got to realize that let's say that you got 6 or 10 people on your team working for you that are reporting to you. When you talk about true synergy, that does not mean everybody does exactly the same thing, exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, when you have different people have a little bit of a different background, they may have a little bit of a different insight. Out of those 10 people, these 2 over here may have an insight on a factor that could come on the scene that nobody else realized. And they're kind of watching for the symptoms, to come on scene. These people over here may have a little bit of a different insight, that have an insight of, well, here's some factors too, and let's look at that. And they're sort of watching for some symptoms that may come on the scene to say that there's something unexpected possibly coming on scene with what we're trying to do. And the bottom line is, so often in society today, you have people that are just do what I say, and we'll just blame it on them if it doesn't work right. If we'll just blame it on the factors. But you know what? True aspects is when your team has insights of factors that could possibly come on scene that nobody else on our team expected. Sometimes if you see a symptom coming on, you'll have 1 or 2 people, maybe not everybody, that has clarity on the risk and the struggle and the impact of that other people may not. And so sometimes the conversation can help gain some clarity on that. And I remember I've shared this on a show a long time ago. So anybody listening to it today may not remember this, but I'll share it. And I think I shared it with you, Jill, quite a long time ago, that there was a time when I was a site manager at Griffiths Air Force Base for our detachment there. And there was a time, we had about 9, well, actually we had about 8 aviation people, and we had 3 mechanics all working for me there. And there was this one time, because I understood this truth, there was this one time where they were, after a meeting, they were in our kind of lobby area, if you will, and they were having some discussions on some things to think about. And I was sitting there right there. A lot of people will sit there and say, well, here, we need to do this. You need to do this. You know what? You're not leading when you do that. You know what I did?
Yeah.
I could tell what they were thinking, and I could tell where they were going. Now, if they were going to a dysfunctional point, I might jump in with one factor that they hadn't included to be aware of this. But what I did there, because they were doing a professional job of it, they were sitting there and they were coming up with this idea. And one of the aviators had a pen and a pad, and he was going to sit down and make some notes on it. But before he sat down, he looked at me and he realized the boss is standing there. And he looked at me and he froze. And I just went like this, and I just nodded to him, and I just went and I winked at him. And because I was saying, yeah, go for that. See what it comes up with, kind of thing. And I'd let them do this and explore sometimes the situation, the risks and things of that nature, kind of thing. And I kind of let them do it. But you know what? You got to realize not everybody in your team is perfectly the same, and not everything is just rote academic. there are factors in the situation, particularly when you're talking about organizational maneuverability, kind of thing. There are factors that that you got to be able to think about. And is your plan going to really work, or are there unpredictable factors coming on? And how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
So when you think about this aspect of both optimists and pessimists contribute to society, it's not making everybody exactly the same on your team. Now, do they have to be synergistic together? Yeah, they got to be synergistic and helping it. But you know what? These people may have an insight that nobody else did, and these people may have an insight that nobody else did. But that guy, when he froze and he just looked at me, and I just kind of nodded my head and winked at him, and he just smiled at me, and he sat down and started making some notes. I could tell they were going to a great place that I would have taken them, and I was going to just let them go there and see what they came up with on their own, because that can help develop people also. And so, when you're talking about this aspect of leading people in a challenging, unpredictable environment, sometimes this sort of organizational maneuverability concept, it's like I say, the optimist invents the airplane, the pessimist the parachute. Well, guess what? There's times when they're both needed, kind of thing. And so when you're leading your team in a let's face it, in today's environment, kind of thing. When you're leading your team in today's environment, what do you need to think about differently? What do you need to, what questions do you need to ask your team? What do you need to do sometimes to let them kind of struggle through the insights and in their mind? And to some extent, when they come up with something, what questions you're going to ask them then? Because it's not about necessarily just taking them to where you want it to be. Now, if they're going off in a completely different direction, that's not good for the company. Okay, yeah, you got to step in. But when you're talking about unpredictable situations and environments, and you're coming up with some strategic thinking about where you're going to go, are you also going to be aware, and how do you need to kind of develop your people so that as they go forward, they will be looking at and have some situational awareness so that they can become clear on the completely unexpected factors and know how that's going to impact. It may be that we need to kind of make our turn this way. If we were flying an airplane, we may need to make our turn this way to kind of avoid that for a second. It may be that, oh, you know what? That's going to help us if we stay straight.
Yeah.
And we didn't think it, kind of thing. But when you talk about true situational clarity, particularly in any kind of rapidly changing environment that's unpredictable and all that, this aspect really comes into play there. So like I say, this quote from George Bernard Shaw was, I found very interesting. I shared it this morning on my social media and everything. But again, both are required. And when you talk about your team, true synergy, that does not in any way, shape, or form mean that everybody on your team is exactly the same. No, it isn't. If that's what you are requiring, now there's synergy that needs to be there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's exactly the same. It may be that, two of the people over here have insights that the others didn't, that is good for the team. And you know what? These people over here may have insights that these don't have. How are you going to lead your team so that those benefits come together for synergy?
Yeah.
And that is when you talk about true team synergy and leading teams in an unpredictable, challenging environment and things of that nature. Like I say, this quote was very good, because guess what? There's times when your airplane's very important, and there's times when the parachute's really important, kind of thing. But you know what? If all you're doing as a manager is requiring your people to think the same all the time, that's problematic, and it's not leading to success. But I will say this, that if you have somebody on your team who's thinking this direction over here and they're starting to try to play control freak games with it,
Yeah.
okay, that's problematic also. You need to step in for that. But a degree of synergy is when the team starts looking together like something like this, and they're starting to kind of point out some insights, and they're all sort of going, yeah, yeah, kind of thing. And these people may have come up with this, these people may have come up with that, but you know what? They're synergistic in how they're getting this moving forward. And here's the thing. A couple of people over here may have come out with something that makes everybody else kind of go, whoa. But you know what? As you start in the direction of it, all of a sudden everybody else goes, oh, you know what? That's starting to happen the way they said it might. We didn't realize, kind of thing. And they can be ready for making that. So when you talk about this aspect, and again, this is a little bit of a humorous quote, but it's totally relating to that. Because when you're talking about leading your team, if I challenge the listeners to really think about your real definition of what true synergy is, because you know what? It isn't just everybody being exactly the same, because guess what? You do that and there's going to be certain challenges that you cannot deal with. And, but you can have little different insights for people on your team, and yet they still come together in a synergistic way. And when you're talking about leading teams in a challenging environment like that, that's a key insight that a lot of people don't, sort of get. A lot of people in the old school ways had the sense that said, well, I told you to do this, you just got to do that, kind of thing. And, and they blame it on if it doesn't work or whatever. Guess what? That's not synergy. And that's not really developing your team for radical success in an unpredictable, challenging situation. But if you bring your team to the point where all of those insights come together, then they can come together in a synergistic way.
Yeah.
Guess what? You can reach radical success in ways you would have never guessed. So it's just something to think about. Like I say, the quote here from George Bernard Shaw was just when I saw that, I said, that's a little bit of a picture of that. And it's but when you're talking about leading teams in situations that are very challenging and all that, it's an insight that a leader has to have. And how are you really going to lead, connect with, and develop your individual team members so that they can bring those types of skills? Guess what? This person may be kind of going along with what you said,
True.
but there may be vision on this one other thing over here, because they're aware of one risk that nobody else was aware of. And they may be aware of one risk that you were not aware of, possibly. And so, are you leading your teams in a way that can really bring radical success in that? And so this whole aspect of not going to a rote academic picture of what true synergy is a little bit different. And but I tell you what, you get your team to be truly, realistically synergistic, guess what? Amazing things can happen when your team makes it work.
The team. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we just have only 2 minutes left in the show, Randy. Great conversation as always. And you are like the leadership guru, and you're
Well, thank
working
you.
with people, corporations, individuals. I mean, I can't even, we need a whole show just on your introduction about what you do and your passion. But it's true.
I get
And
I get by each day. So
oh, well, no, it's
oh boy.
impressive. So how did you kind of want to close out for today?
Well, I will just sit there and say that like I said, this on the top over here, that's what my whole focus is. And the title of that autobiography is my focus: bring freedom to potential. And so what I just want to say is, guess what? Not everything is rote academic today. Guess what? Do you have the vision? Do you have the strategic thinking that is really going to not just play control freaks with your team, but to really grow them, develop them, inspire them, bring them together in such a way where a year or two from now, you're sitting there going, while your team's being rewarded, you're going, wow, I didn't expect this. Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? But if you get very serious about this aspect of leadership, that can happen. And so I leave that with you. Again, Randy Swaim, Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, and coaching for relevance, and been on with you, Jill, for a lot of times now, and it's always an honor. I really
Myself,
appreciate
Steve, the
who you
whole
are.
team. No, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. You're awesome. You do great things. And back to the book. Don't forget Amazon. Got to go tell us the title of the book again, how we find it.
Okay, it's Bringing Freedom to Potential. Once it's on my website, then I'll probably post something. I will say this, that I posted a link to the actual page where you can buy it. I posted a link on my social media this morning on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So if somebody finds my posts on social media, they can click on the link and go right there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back. And again, looking forward to speaking with you and getting more insight on that book. And congratulations on this amazing soon-to-be bestseller.
Sound good. I hope so. And listen, it's always an honor to be on with you, Jill. It's just it's a pleasure to have you as a colleague and as a friend. And hope you have a great afternoon. And we'll see you again.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a great day. To all of our listeners, please stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.